everyone, what's going on? Thanks so much for tuning in. I'm Deborah. This is Purusha Intuitive, and I am just going to chat a little bit about wellness. So when I first started this channel, it was the intention to embody all things health and well-being from a holistic perspective. I have spent the majority of my career with wellness in mind. I am a chef. I have been working with food as healing medicine for as long as I can remember. And that has slowly evolved over the years through studying energy, healing, well-being from a more esoteric, spiritual perspective, to grounding into Ayurveda, which embodies all things. And I'm incredibly passionate about wellness. If you've been following along in the on the channel, thank you so much, number one. Like I said, my intention was to kind of bring holistic wellness, but I have not done a wellness video in like a month. So I figured it was time to tap back in. I'm kind of just still figuring out the game plan, how I'm navigating all things. If you are a content creator, I'm sure you know, it's a lot of work, not good, bad, right, or wrong. It just, it's a whole new ball game. And I am very analog, I'm not gonna lie. I think I'm like, an 80-year-old woman sometimes. So with that in mind, I wanted to kind of just focus on some of the topical aspects of wellness. And then I thought it would be kind of fun, since I love divination, and I'm sure you do too, to pull a few cards and just kind of see how the tarot sees it, how it is understood. I think a great place to start. So modern day or present day, I am an Ayurvedic consultant. I still do catering and events and stuff like that with food. Not as much on a day-to-day basis, but food definitely is my first love. And as I'm sure if you've been following along on the channel, you can see that, spirituality is a huge heart of mine, love of mine as well, right? Connecting with, our ultimate being, our, essential self. It's so important to align with that part of us every day. Because if you are familiar with Ayurveda, or if you go do some discovery, Ayurveda equates wellness with consciousness. And I should actually specify Maharishi Ayurveda. Maharishi was this fellow that came to the US back in the 60s, and just really re-enlivened the authentic form of Ayurveda from the original transcripts. Obviously, I'm sure you guys know, throughout time, things get distorted, etc. So he really kind of worked to bring that back to the forefront and coupled it with transcendental meditation. So this understanding of what it means to be healthy and well in modern culture, in my opinion, is very short-sighted. We think about it in terms of, how we look, how much we weigh, how long we spend at the gym, how many salads we eat. Like this very... as I think about it, it's very much lack-minded. It's limitation, it's restriction, it's withholding the body. And most every diet in America does that, or first world countries. I don't want to throw shade to, but I think that America is probably the most furthest away from really authentic eating is what I'm going to say. If I know Michael Pollan did this amazing Netflix documentary called Cooked. It's also a book. It's 4 episodes, and it really kind of explores, what it means to have food as a part of your daily routine, and how in modern culture, it's missing, right? As a part of our ritual. And what I love so much about Ayurveda is it incorporates that value of sacrament, recognizing that our body, our physiology is really something to be honored and to be respected and looked after. And that's the approach in all aspects. It basically breaks down every facet of living to, not only what you eat and exercise, but it's what you're doing at certain periods of the day, when you eat your heaviest meal, what your sleep schedule is, like just every nook and cranny of what it means to take care of ourselves, to enliven ourselves to the wellest being, Ayurveda looks at and basically has a game plan. What I love so much about it is so achievable, oftentimes. So like I mentioned, the first 20 years or so of my career has been in food. And I've always approached it in a more holistic way. I wanted to make food like at the time that I went into the industry, like vegan, vegetarian was kind of like this elusive concept, and they were all weirdos, and that concept of it, everything tasting like cardboard, was very much the stereotype. And so I had this vision that I would be able to translate classic dishes into something that was really good, like tasty, but could still be vegetarian, vegan, raw friendly. And it's really amazing, like the ways that food, if you choose high quality ingredients, the way that food will work for you. I really do believe it's medicine. Yes, that's kind of a very multi-layered conversation nowadays because of our agricultural system, the soil being depleted, overly cultivated, mass, like meat, farming. There's just like many layers of it. So when we choose to either do our own garden or buy local, organic, small farms, etc., it's really supporting that industry of how nature intended it. And it's interesting because it's challenged me to think about wellness in the way that you think about a plant, for instance. A little obscure, I know, bear with me. But like when we plant a flower or we're planting a garden, we want to make sure that the conditions are right in order for that plant to thrive. And it needs certain things in order to make it a functioning in its most harmonious way. Side note, the body is always trying to find balance and harmony because that's what it allows all those systems to work to our optimal wellness. It's always going to try to find wellness for us, no matter what conditions we put it under, and we can put it in some like really intense environments, right? So this concept of like, yes, we have consciousness. It's a different level of consciousness than maybe the plant world. We can, it's just a different ball game than feeding a plant. I get that 100%, especially when we have so much in front of us. That's ease, that's convenience. America has made a huge industry off of food, right? And sometimes I think that's great. I'm all about making the money, right? But then I think also sometimes that can really like jade our perspective or what our innate values are for that product, and for that wellness. And so in my opinion, when it comes to being healthy, like I said, it's not as much about limiting. I think the more we limit, the more our body actually holds on to. So for instance, the easiest example, if we're trying to lose weight and we are restricting, our body's going to go, oh shoot, like we're not being fed. We better store some for the winter, right? Or we are spending 5 hours at the gym, whatever. I don't know how long people spend there, but whatever, some like crazy amount. Or, you know, on the treadmill, the elliptical, going like 90 miles an hour. It stresses our body out. And when we really think about it, Ayurveda acknowledges this hands down. Stress is the number one antithesis for life, right? It is the number one thing that ends up degenerating our cells, meaning it kills the cells. And think of what modern culture is like on a daily basis. It is, you know, 0 to 60 or 80, whatever. You know, it's intense. Like, I've worked very, very intentionally on stepping back off of work. I used to be like a really bad workaholic. I love it. It's like my drug. I'll leave it at that. But there's just something I get very, very high off of overproduction. So it took me, a child, to really kind of slow down and reevaluate, because any parent knows when you have a child, like there's just no time for anything, and it's not a bad thing. Children are the coolest thing in the world, the hugest blessing. I am in love with mine. He's been such a, just words cannot even express my heart for him. But all that to say, it really makes you evaluate, well, what's important and what's not. And Ayurveda is all about supporting the body. You know, how can you find optimal wellness without stressing yourself out? That's the name of the game. And I believe that we all know that saying, mind, body, soul. Those are the three things we need to take care of. It's not just about food. It's not just about exercise. I mean, those are parts of it, yes. But we want to keep our sanity. That's a good thing, right? We want to keep our emotional and mental stability. And then we all want to feel like we have some purpose in being here, right? That concept of dharma. What is our life path? It doesn't matter what form of religion you ascribe to, what your belief system is. None of that matters. You know, it's about our heart. It's about what we desire out of life, the things that make us feel grounded and empowered, and that we can really be happy and fulfilled. Maharishi talks about how so much of that comes from our level of consciousness. And when we are able to connect with that level of pure consciousness, being completely aware, it really talks about that's where wellness, true, complete, aligned wellness is found. That's when we can, you know, completely work with the dance of life, with our physiology, with our environment that surrounds us, etc. So, you know, spiritual practices, one of the best things. I do agree with this. There's a lot of research, even scientific research, on transcendental meditation. In my opinion, it is like the number one, I mean, and it's probably even proven. I know they have a lot of studies on the benefits of the brain, etc. But anytime I meditate, it's like as if my body harmonizes, you know, that concept of left and right brain, left and right hemisphere, actually coming into alignment. I can actually feel the things inside of my body healing. And I'm not like trying to like, oh, I'm so in touch, so in tune. Like, you know, it's just, I feel how, you know, my energy completely enlivens. I see things a little bit clearer, more brilliantly. My intellect is there, etc. And when we're tired or stressed, those things aren't working as well. Not Not to mention, our digestive system. Like, our body has to be working harmoniously in order for us to digest things well. And how many people have digestion issues? One of the hugest things you can do for your body in terms of digesting food is move your largest meal to midday instead of dinner time, because that actually helps. Number one, that's when your digestive fire is the strongest, midday. And then your body kicks into a second or different style of digestion process as you sleep, which helps heal and restore the different processes so they're like up and running the next day. And when we are weighted down, when we're eating a huge heavy meal before bed, our body's spending all this time like trying to do that, and then let me get in this other thing too, right? It's too cramped for time. That's why a lot of us carry extra weight. That's why a lot of us have sleeping problems, you know? I noticed even for myself, like if I didn't go to bed by 10, let's say, and that's exactly when that second digestion process starts coming in. Ayurveda recommends going to bed between like 9 and 11, 10:30. 11, I think, is pushing it maybe for kapha individuals. Side note, we'll talk about that later. But it's like I get hungry again, then I'll eat another meal, and then I have all this energy, because that's what food does, right? Is it gives us that energy. And so, like I was saying, if we can focus on some things, the spiritual aspect of meditation, ideally transcendental meditation, anything that helps you transcend, is going to not only help harmonize your body, but it's also going to clarify your consciousness, allowing it to expand, to grow, so that it's not limited and fragmented. And then that actually, like, that sets the stage for everything else. It naturally allows us to treat our body better, to eat things that are honoring, to not overstuff ourselves, to not limit or restrict ourselves. You know, it really allows us to move more fluidly with life. And that's like the second area, right, is our body, is the way that we take care of ourselves. We're so used to eating out, convenience items. I would encourage you, obviously, start cooking from home a little bit more. Maybe commit to 1 to 3 meals a week that you cook from scratch at the house. It's a world of difference. The more that you do that, the more your body will thank you, I promise. And then I already gave you that other tidbit about, you know, bringing your heaviest meal towards midday. And by heavy, I mean not in quantity, but just like the quality of what you're eating. So like meats and cheeses and breads, like just the heavier items that take a little bit longer for our body to digest. That's what you want midday. And then all of that kind of plays into our mental, emotional, right? Like I was saying, that amazing thing is that transcendental meditation of some form, reflection, journaling, prayer, all those things help set the tone for our day, for our life. If we have some sort of moral reference, you know, that is what we're looking to kind of aspire to on a daily basis, right? And those things are what keep us sane. The things that like throw our mind, body out of balance is the stuff that makes us feel off kilter, that makes us feel crazy, right? That Ace of Wands. I'm going to start pulling because we're nearing the 20-minute mark, but you know, it's a lot about what's in our environment, what we're taking in, the way we feel about ourselves, the way that's reflected back to us. All of those things really play a role in our mental stability. So like when we are meditating or some form of, I know that's not everyone's vibe, but I will probably say it a lot because I am like obsessed. You know, that automatically is going to help our brain, our synapses. It's going to help with maximum coherence. Then that in turn allows the right messages to be fired to the right part of the body. And when we're compounding it with eating appropriately, even just the simple thing of like I said, moving your heaviest meal, or listening to yourself, actually I'm full now, I'm all set. Maybe putting the phone down, you know, while you eat, things like that. Just tuning in and listening to what your body is saying to you is gonna do wonders, you know? And then it's like a domino effect, right? It's going to help our sleep, our well-being, just in terms of how we feel about ourselves. You know, we'll be more motivated, we'll be more clear. So I'll stop there for today. I don't want to make these videos crazy long. I could probably talk hours and hours about it, but that will be in content to come. I wanted to just spur the question of how can you challenge your wellness easily, accessibly, from the perspective of mind, body, and spirit. With what we talked about today, understanding stress is a huge factor. It's important to take time for self-care, eating well, not just a bunch of salads. Like I actually really love salads in the summertime specifically, and was a huge salad eater. But they are also kind of like harsh on our digestion. I never thought of it like that, you know, but like when I went through my Ayurveda schooling and just kind of like, you know, put some emphasis on that, I was like, that actually makes a lot of sense, you know, and that's kind of how my body was receiving it. It needs a little bit of sustenance, like a grain or, you know, bread if you do that. Something that can kind of absorb, so it's not just these tiny pieces of flaky lettuce, right? Okay, yeah. I love this Four of Wands because it is kind of like such a celebratory energy. And it's like these girls dancing in the background or in the foreground, which is, it's like, that's kind of like, life should be one big party, right? You know, it should be enjoyable. It should be fun. And I'm not saying like partying in the sense of like going out to the dance clubs every night. You know, that's fun too. But it's like, I feel like we feel valued and fulfilled when we are taking care of our well-being. It allows us to celebrate all aspects of life without getting hungover, right? So that's where health, well-being plays such a huge role. Why it's important. If we tune in, if we tap into this Queen of Cups energy, aligning with our beliefs, with our values, listening to what our body wants and needs, then you can be well. You know, it's not as, yes, I think diets are great suggestions. Sometimes they're awesome at kickstarting the healing process. Be really mindful about what diet you choose, for sure. I'm sure we'll talk about that in further videos. But this is like, and this is huge, like when you listen to what your body will tell you what you want. When you listen to it, you just feel so much more nourished, right? And obviously that's in context, you know, it's not saying like McDonald's, you know, and then go get some. I mean, sometimes we do need that. I'm not going to like throw shade to it. It's just everything within balance, you know. It's interesting, I will say, like how often when I first got into Ayurveda, looking at my specific dosha, then what's the recommended food list. It was amazing how often I came across things people might say are like not healthy, but my body would crave, and then Ayurveda would say it's good for you, you know? So I think one of the best things we can do is get to know ourselves. Yeah, I love that. It's abundance energy. Get to know who you are. Listen to your body. Take a second to just settle, take a deep breath, rest before you start eating, have a prayer, whatever it is for you. Tapping in, tuning in is going to make this feel so much more abundant. Yeah, such a powerful energy, guys, with the sun. I love this. It's like clarity about what makes you thrive. And I will say, like, through my experiences of Ayurveda, really kind of running certain routines and protocols, it's just amazing how much it's done for myself. And it's like really kind of like simplistic stuff, you know, you go to the dietitian or the doctor and they're, you know, or like these diets, I don't know, it's all these like crazy nitty gritty details that who the F has the time to do it, you know, where if you just kind of like live this like middle of the road balanced life. I'm not saying don't ever do anything. I love this one guy in our area, Dr. Tent, and he talks about the 80-20 rule. It's so true. Like 80% of the time, treat yourself well, etc. And then that 20% you have, you know, it makes it easier for us to kind of digest through or absorb. Modern day is saturated with toxins and chemicals and so much stuff. It's too bad, so sad, but it's life nowadays. And it's kind of our job to figure out how to navigate through all that stuff, which I know we can, and we can still thrive. And I'm so excited to share this wisdom, this knowledge that I have learned. I think it's so valuable, and it's without all the gimmicks. You know, if you're not a gimmicky person like myself, I like to see how natural we can do things. So like your face isn't falling off and, you know, from some botched surgery or whatever. Like, I would just love to age with grace. And if you feel passionate about that too, you know, hopefully these are the videos for you. So I'm going to end it there. Thank you so much for your time and energy. I super appreciate it. Thanks for just supporting me as I kind of work through this channel and, you know, just bring some things to you that I'm incredibly passionate about. I hope you have a fabulous day. Sending all the love and blessings.